Good evening and welcome to the 4th Diagnostic Leadership Summit. We are now heading into the panel discussion on synergizing laboratory automation for efficacious diagnostic operations. We are delighted to welcome Dr. Ravi Gaur, Principal Advisor, Spice Health, SpiceJet Promoters Venture, Founder, Dr. G. Pathlebs, Co-Chair, CII Delhi Chapter Health Committee, will be the session moderator for the day. Welcome, sir. Dr. Barnali Das, Consultant Lab Medicine, Kokila Pain Hospital, AACC Indian Section Chair, IFCC Scientific Division Executive Committee Member, CAP Inspector and NABL Assessor, Kokila Pain Hospital. Welcome, ma'am. Dr. Nilesh Shah, President and Chief of Science and Innovation, Metropolis Healthcare Limited. Welcome, sir.
Good evening.
Dr. Monica Popley Prabhakar, Director, Laboratory Management and Operational Excellence, Dr. Lal Pathlabs. Welcome, ma'am. Dr. Amrit Kaur Kale, Consultant, Molecular Pathologist, Department of Laboratory, Medicine, Kokilaben Dhirubhai Ambani Hospital. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
And Dr. Simi Bhatia, Director, Gurgaon Reference, Lab Technical Director, Southwest Central and International Labs, SRI Diagnostics. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
I now hand over the session to Ravi Gaur to take the discussion forward. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. It's my pleasure and honor to be here with the esteemed panelists here. I think we have all heavyweights of diagnostics right here in the panel. And it's loaded with wisdom, experience, and still, willing to probably take the diagnostic to the newer heights. That's a spirit I think all of you have, and I think it's welcome and my pleasure to be with you. Today, I think I'll also like to thank the Elets, the organizers, because this is the 4th Diagnostic Leadership Summit, and probably the last 1 year, I've attended a few of them, and we found that they've been too elaborate. And I think the COVID brought the focus back on diagnostics. And Elet is probably trying to do something really deeper insight into diagnostics, how diagnostics can be taken forward. Because today, post-COVID, diagnostic has become actually a center stage. I think we have a test, track, and treat, because testing is reflect diagnosis. For tracking, we need a test. For treatment, we need a test. For follow-up, we need a test. And for vaccination efficacy, we need a test. I think everywhere the test. I think we are testing, diagnostic is back in focus. It's time to keep that momentum on. And I'm sure we all have been working behind the microscopes, but we have now in the forefront, probably to take it forward and probably be ready for the future. With this, I thank all my panelists again, and I'm hopeful probably they'll be very, very, experience and wisdom and probably sharing experiences, knowledgeable session for all of us. And I will like to keep minimal talking, probably like to hear from all of you more. The topic today is the Synergizing Laboratory Automation for Efficacious Diagnostic Operations. I think the diagnostic operations are highly complicated, highly challenging. Probably one of the sessions earlier, we were talking about a test recipe. Probably, that is so complicated. And when you talk about anything for that matter, there are some 1,500 plus tests. There are so many different reagents in each test menu. There's so many factors which play a right and wrong, right from the sample, picking up through pre-analytical, by the time it reaches you, when the process, by the time reports go, and what consultant interprets it actually, and how they utilize it. I think it's everywhere. It's like so much of factors, multiple factors. How the human mind is working. I think hats off to all of us. Probably we have been working day and night and making sure we deliver right the patient benefit. Before I start, I should say that today it's like what we call it as the probably like automation. Automation when applied to you can say that automation when applied to inefficient operations, well, magnifies the you can say that inefficiency. We are living in an age of fast-paced technology that has uh, paved the way for automation to a point where human intervention is getting, has become almost unnecessary. If something can be done without human interaction, but just giving some sort of a start signal, pushing a button kind of a thing, this can be considered automation. That's something what we are today, everybody is talking about. It can save time, it saves money, delights us and our customers too, who no longer have to wait in line and queue for giving samples or getting reports. Wherever they are at a convenience doorstep, they can get everything what they want. And of course, it impedes a human error. I think this is something what, but it's probably we talk about automation and diagnostic. Probably I'll say it's not really a new thing. In an analytical space, this has been existing for a long time. I think it might come out surprise for some people, but automation is already actually around us. We have been, I think, used to that for many time in the diagnostic setup. Uh, we it probably but there are actually something to remember that automation will do only what you tell it to do it. Automation applied to inefficient systems will only magnify it, nothing else, because they just replicate what they want to do. It's quite broad in terms of application today in any case, and significance and opportunity, and the scope is very, very long. But I think equally important is to be careful of what we automate. Just you can automate everything. Something does not imply that you should be automating it. I think that's where I think our wisdom and experience would play a very important role. Uh, the Yes, with this, I move on to my, the first question, because without wasting much time here, and we'd like to hear from all of you. My first question is to Dr. Nilesh Shah. Welcome, Dr. Shah, to the panel. You have seen the journey across generation. I remember, I don't know whether you recollect, I met you way back when I had a lot of hair on my head, I think, and we were
Same. I
almost,
had a lot of hair.
yeah. So I think we probably somewhere way back, and I'm talking about 20 years back, maybe more than that probably. And great to see you here, and again leading from the front. You have seen the journey across the generation, from the manual to semi-auto to fully automatic, and now the era of robotics. Probably you're talking about. Now, can you please share your experience and journey where we were and where we heading off as of now, Dr. Shah, please.
Sure. So it's been 36 years long uh, laboratory working, and I've just seen completely manual calorimetric days to a lot of automation now in place. When we say automation, I think I want to little bit define the objective. Automation is using devices and equipment, and automation is using IT. These days, my more energy goes into IT side of automation than devices, and I'm going to little bit elaborate. Before that, what is objective of doing automation? Automation is not worth unless it touches your internal or external customer in positive way, and it should bring quality enhancement, it should bring efficiency, and it should somewhere do cost reduction. Ideally, all the three objectives should be met, but if not, at least few of these objectives should be met. Otherwise, automation cannot be just a showpiece and you just adopt it. On equipment side, there is lots happening and lots has happened, but now the journey is little bit slower, I feel. But on IT side, sky is the limit. I think there are too many things happening, and which we need to really look forward to for our organization. Little bit I'll touch upon equipment side, and I'm sure we have Dr. Barnali Das, who is a subject expert, and we have Dr. Simi Bhatia, who is histopathology, surgical pathology expert. So on equipment side, when we talk about digital pathology, you can do cytology screening automated, you can do histology remotely, you can do scoring, all that she is the best person to talk about, and how it saves time, money, energy, and how it helps you with accuracy. Same way, when we talk about automation on chemistry side, you have now autoimmunity, like in your ANA also can be automated. You don't have to see under microscope on your own. You see automated. You do a urine, you are seeing it automated. Microscopy, you are doing automated, and you just have to probably see 1 or 2% of the smear. Rest everything can get automated. So this journey is on. It will continue. This change are easy to adopt, and definitely is helping. But on IT side, there are few things which we need to talk about. Let me start with middleware, and I'm going to run through pre-analytical, analytical, post-analytical, all level, and how it can impact even cost. And I think you indicated, something like uh, people-free labs and so on. Not people-free, I would say less people and more output kind of a lab. I'm perceiving with this. So middleware is very loosely used term today. It's a IT tool which connects all the equipment to your LIMS, but in between it gives you a lot of gyan. It gives you a lot of room to do things more accurately without a good talent being there and the way you design the protocol. So all good labs have two level of verification. You have a verification done by paramedical staff whom we call validation, and you have a validation done by medical staff, which is pathologists, biochemists, and so on, which we call authorization. Now both these areas some knowledge is used. Now knowledge is not uniform. You may train people, how much they digested, how much they will replicate is difficult. If you have a middleware will ensure that you can do rule based validation, that if TSH is abnormal high and P34 are normal, you want to stop verification process, it will stop. You may say TSH high but T3T4 is borderline low, just release it, will release, and so on. You can set your own rule and your middleware can do that rule rightly. Same way, your quality assurance part. Today you are purely dependent on internal controls or maybe LJ charts or so, multi rules or whatever. But doing a moving average adds so much of value. Moving average concept is still not fully adopted globally, but I am seeing a lot of hope on moving averages. That when moving averages we get adjusted to, a time will come that our dependence on internal control will completely go down. In fact, some of us will challenge whether internal control is required or not. So moving average can is a IT utility which improves your quality, reduces your cost, and builds efficiency. You don't have to worry about QC failures and so on. You will be able to release the result much more confidently. This all is possible through middleware tool, which is very, very good to adopt. Before I move to post-analytical, so pathologist level of validation, I want to talk about something which is combination. And there's only one example I want to share. During COVID days, I happened to talk about pooling. So where you pool 5 samples as one, run a molecular test. If negative, release all 5. If positive, run all 5 separately. This was by rule, by law. If it is your positivity is less than X percentage, which was 2% nationally as per guideline, but some of the cities had different guideline. You were allowed to do. But I came across an IT tool developed by IITians called tapestry pooling. In tapestry pooling, you will do pool based on positivity of that location, based on your sensitivity of assay and so on. So if your positivity is less than 1%, you can do 1 in 31 pool. And if your positivity is up to 20%, still you can pool, but the pool will be 1 in 5. Now the best part is that your pool is single step pool. In one single assay, you get final answer. You don't have to do two-step at all. Moreover, the design was such that you just cannot make mistake. It does not allow you to make mistake because each sample automatically gets processed 3 times. So imagine cost saving, efficiency enhancement, which will come through this. This also is one sort of a good automation. This is process re-engineering with automation using IT. Same way, I want to talk about there are many tools which you can in-house develop. There are no ready solutions where you can do small to medium process improvement. Imagine, VDRLs and blood groups, not blood group, I would say VDRL and TPHA kind of assay, where doctor wants to see the result on his own. They want to see before technician releases the result. Now, this can be available online on your screen, even if you're sitting on fourth floor and your lab is on the ground floor. It is possible this kind of automation people have developed. Moreover, you will be able to attach that image to report, gives more confidence to doctors. Now, these are something very good value add automation, which helps overall build quality, confidence, and so on. When you're authorizing the report, you are more confident. When you're when you're deciding a treatment protocol, clinician is more confident because he can see and everything. So this I'm talking about now pre-authorization level. Now coming to authorization level, there are tools like clinical decision making systems are available, where whatever pathologist is doing, by seeing the results, he's seeing the past result, he's seeing QCs, he's seeing the trend, he's seeing different results of same particular patient, and whatever way he's making decision, you can use AI, and that decision can be made by your AI tool. So CDS is one of such system available globally, where uh, you can set the rules. If this combinations are there, I want result to go. Auto authorization has become common in most of the lab, but if you notice, best labs in the country does not do authorization automated more than 50% of the result. 50% is highest. 50% result still doctors are seeing, and that is a good lot of load already. And at times people miss and they feel fatigued. And we don't have that much doctor's pool to see each result in detail. So auto authorization using CDS kind of a thing, using AI is something which we should look forward to and adopt it. All these things improve quality, improve efficiency, and reduces dependence on manpower. Sorry if I have said been bit
No,
longer, but this is what comes in my mind right now.
no,
Thank you.
not Neeraj. I think it was a wonderful insight, probably, and you really actually focused. You're probably way ahead what people are actually talking about. I think that will be great insight and learning for all of us, for that matter. I think that reminds me one more very small thing. Like in some point of time, I was doing when the dengue epidemic was on in the Delhi part, and there we probably were doing a lot of fever panel testing, which has got multiple testing. So probably we had we developed a small in-house kind of a tool. We had some kind of analytic with ourselves. Realize in this area, the lot many people have sampled are coming, and so can we do something with this? Okay, this is an area you're getting more samples, so there should be a reflex testing for NS1 antigen, probably giving otherwise getting a more sample. So I think something what you're talking about COVID that reminds me way back. But I think that's way I think the right automation using the data analytic and automation getting a reflex testing can help us out probably to deliver efficiently and better and probably saving the logistics, second sampling, all the inconvenience to patient everybody. Thank you so much. We'll come back to you because I really wanted to ask you about the human-free pathology labs, but I think we'll hear from you as we move forward, kind of a thing. My next question is to Dr. Simi. Sir, good evening, and I think welcome to the discussion again. We are pathology is basically considered a service industry, and the customers' expectations are growing day by day because the way the services are being delivered, actually, service industry, hospitality, and I think they expect now, and especially in the COVID time, I think diagnostics have performed exceptionally well, taking care of every aspect of the customer. So customer expectation is growing day by day. How is automation helping the pathology labs in delivering service and meeting customer expectation? I can want to hear from you what's experience and on this. Please share your views.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Shah. So I come back to the same point which Dr. Nilesh said, that anything is pre-analytical, analytical, and post-analytical. I think that is something which has been imbibed in our DNA. We look at anything, we look at these three different levels. Now, when we look at customer experience, whom are we tackling? We are looking at patients. And today, a patient, if I put myself in the patient's shoes, we are very anxious. B, and the entire treatment depends upon a pathology result. So they are very anxious as to what is going to happen, when are they going to get the results. They don't know anything. In the past, if blood had to be drawn, there were very few pathologists who went home and did a home collection themselves and got the sample, and then a hard copy report had to be collected from the pathology lab. Now times are changing. Today we all want to know what is happening, what do we expect, or what are we expecting out of whatever is being done. And this is where automation is helping, or the pathology industry, to ensure that the patient is comfortable and less anxious. So let's look at how that can be done. The first thing, automation, is booking appointments for blood collection. You just go online, book it. So that's the first step of automation that has happened. They can book what time they want, and immediately the next step is, it's like a bi-directional interface. As soon as they book, an SMS comes to them, your appointment is booked, and there are labs who will also tell you who is the phlebotomist who's going to come, what is his mobile number, what time he would be there. So there is a comfort that yes, this person XYZ is going to be there, and this is his contact number whom they can trace and find out what's happening. Similarly, from the lab end, they need to know that the pathologist, that the phlebotomist is going on time. So there is a system wherein when the phlebotomist reaches the patient's home, he can put a message saying he's there. And as soon as he collects and registers on site, the lab knows that the sample has been collected and the patient knows the sample has been registered. So now they can track what is happening to their sample. This is something like we do, which is a norm. You order something online with anybody, a pizza or something, you know when it has left, it is getting ready, it is left, it is reaching. And that is the same thing that has been developed in the pathology industry, where the person knows his report is going to be ready at this time, and when it is ready, they get an SMS, your report is ready, this is the password, login, and you get it. So they are fully aware, and hence the anxiety, the curiosity has been reduced for a patient who's already suffering, and even the relatives who need to know when they can take the patient to the clinician for his appointment to get things going. Now this is as far as collections are concerned. Now the next step is a tracking of the person or the logistic courier boy to see how the sample is moving in your locality. And that is where GPS tracking is there. Now, there could be an untoward accident, God forbid, of the biker and the specimens are lost. So, with the GPS tracking, if there is a delay, you know what is happening, and you can probably call up and find out what is the issue that's there. If there is a delay, a traffic like which is so well known in the city of Mumbai, today once we leave our offices, the first thing you do is see how much time it's going to take you to reach home. I do that regularly so that I know when I'm going to be home and I can plan my day accordingly. So this GPS tracking of the logistic boy is nothing but an automation for the lab to know, I mean, when are the samples reaching? Is there something that has happened? They need to delay a run because every assay is not carried out daily. There could be cutoffs. So, logistics, whether it is the courier or your logistic team, can tell you about these untoward incidents and inform the lab that can you delay this run because a sample could be reaching late. Now, this is all automation, but one has to be very careful that there is confidentiality maintained. That is a very, very critical part of our industry. That confidentiality is the key thing when we do all of this. Another thing is, now this is where you can get samples, home collection. People can do pre-registration, so any data entry on their names, age can be avoided, the addresses, so whatever information is there, pre-registration can be done, which is again a step towards improving turnaround time when the sample reaches your lab. So you're not getting into the formalities, you're just entering the basic things and it is done and dusted. Similarly, for walk-in customers, today when you go to a bank or you go to a Vodafone store, there is a token system. So that again is an automation which can be done on your premises, wherein you can even automate for what reason the person has come. Has he come to give a sample? Has he come for a wellness check? Has he come to collect his reports? And accordingly, he can be directed. So all this is nothing but automation, which will enhance customer experience, whether they visit your laboratory or whether they give you a sample. You can get a sample from a collection center or a direct client or from home collection. The basic aim for automation is to get efficiencies, to have a patient feel more comfortable, and transparency of the entire process, so they know what is happening, and that's the best thing that automation has got into our process to help customer experience.
Thank you, Dr. Simi. I think giving a very elaborate journey of the samples, because from where it started and where it's ending up, I think in between we can track and really, what's the sometime, it's like, it can create anxiety too, for that matter, because he realized my sample is traveling across high temperature zone, what will happen. But I think it's a very nice tool. Probably we should get to know and have the right tracking, right methodology. So anxious movements are really, taken care of. I think one important thing we're talking about is the customer probably experience, because customers are now basically, driving us to whatever they want. But I have, one piece of advice probably on, let's say that, especially in healthcare, when you go to other thing, app, an automated app, you probably hear 10 thing, dial 0 for this, 1 for two for this, 5 for this. After one, they said, okay, which department you want, this department, and further to department. So it's a prolonged customer call, is about 16, 15 minutes before you end up there writing. So I think quite irritating for that matter, So I think that's where I think healthcare, we need to really, talk about. I think there are some apps and something people have developed some innovation from the patient's voice. What do they want? They actually drive you to that kind of a thing. Probably those kind of a chats or something probably now happening. So cut short the irritating phase and actually giving a delivery or a fruitful kind of a phone call actually materializing into the outcome. Thank you. We'll come back to you. And I think I move on to Dr. Monica. Dr. Welcome to this discussion. Dr. Semi has already mentioned about a lot of pre-analytical phase actually. I like to talk to you about pre-analytical, probably as sample. This is probably just is not yet reached the machines actually, maybe something just prior to that and before it reaches the equipment. How does it increase your lab flows? Dr. Monica, please, your views, please, experience. I think I'm not able to hear you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Gaur. I think most of this is covered by Dr. Simi. Well, I do agree pre-analytical automation in diagnostic lab is the need of the hour. Pre-analytic, as we all know, starts right at the analysis. The pre-analytic phase, when done manually, is. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Are you able to hear me, Dr.
Yes,
Gaur?
your voice is cracking, but yes, we can hear you.
Just a suggestion, Dr. Monica, if you switch off your video, your voice would be clearer.
Maybe we have lost her connection. I think let's move on. I think we'll join her once she comes back. Probably we'll hear from her more. I think within this, we have a little really time limits out here. So I move on to.
Okay, I'm just sorry. I think I lost connectivity. Pardon me for that.
Please start again. Yes.
I think I do agree with Dr. Simi. I think many of the things she has answered it, but I do believe that pre-analytical automation in diagnostic lab is the need of the hour. And the pre-analytic phase, when done manually, is definitely a very time-consuming process. The technicians have to be extremely careful with the whole process of collecting the sample, labeling it, transporting it, and yet there are high chances of sample being mixed or any other human error can occur. Apart from human error, it can also be kept in mind that certain samples can expose the technicians to infectious materials which can be harmful. Hence, the solution for this is only automation. Now, as Dr. Simi also was pointing out, that automation starts right at the time of registrations. We have self-kiosks, and also in the phlebotomy, there are so much of automation available today. We have the automated phlebotomy trays, we have RFID barcodes, we have 2D barcodes. Coming to the transportations, we have the pneumatic chutes, we have mobile robots, we have robotic workstations, we have specimen labelers, we have automated phlebotomy tray preparation, specimen management system. The question now arises is the purchase of automated system in today's on demonstrable improvement in efficiency and sound payback model. There are many studies. If we search the net, we find many studies available on this laboratory automation that focuses on the pre-analytical portion of the specimen processing. Now, at our lab, we recently did a small study where we evaluated the automated pre-analytical processing unit. This pre-analytical unit processes blood specimens through automated specimen sorting. It has centrifugation, decapping, labeling, aliquoting, and placement of the processed specimen in the analytical rack. We quantified the output by processing more than 3,000 barcoded label specimen according to a protocol designed to test all the features of this automated specimen processing unit. Depending on the batch size, aliquot number requested, and also the percentage of tubes that required centrifugation, what output we got, the output performance we got was between 93 to 502 total tubes per hour. The error rate was definitely zero that occur with sorting, labeling, aliquoting, and all these things. Also, the system was operated by one person as compared to three individuals required to perform the same task manually. These time-consuming, laborious steps not only cause bottleneck, they increase the opportunity for human error, but also put these technicians into a repetitive injuries, I mean, the motion injuries they have, and limit the availability of these lab staff to perform more challenging tasks. With the wide variety and volume of sampling entering into the laboratory for testing, complex and error-prone processes must be streamlined if lab wants to free up staff and elevate their value. Now, the question that comes to every mind would be, what is the ROI of this pre-analytic automation? Definitely, the answer would be number one, productivity, especially the time. It is really a time-saving process. It accelerates technology. It reduces the error rate. It increases the throughput. It improves the quality. Employee cost reduction. I'm not saying the number. Yes, definitely the number is there is a decrease in the number, but right from hiring, training, retraining, the technical talent is quite a laborious work and also quite expensive. Qualified people, what we really feel is qualified people should not be spending so much time on laborious, low value, and repetitive tasks. Hence, I would conclude saying the day is not far when we have a complete AI-driven bots handling the entire pre-analytics in one go.
Thank Dr.
Thank you.
Monica for saying that. That was something I was, I'll probably ask Dr. Nilesh once in the second round. Are we looking for, when you enter the lab, all robots out there? I don't know. I think we'll come back to all of you when we move on. I think one important thing which is probably mentioned about when the sample reaches, I think automation is definitely required and helps a lot. Whether it's a sample accept and rejection criteria, because the right time of the document is there, near temperature, whatever, the tubes, barcoding of course helps us out, kind of a thing. And the histopathology samples, probably you can find in the TRF, the history is not mentioned. Moment you scan something, is not there, alert goes, but by the time you slice reaches the pathologist table, probably history has come. Otherwise, a lot of time got wasted into getting the history and details of the patient. And probably the bottleneck is the specimen reception, the bigger labs for that matter. Most of the time you have to handle the sample. Processing might take an hour itself for a whole automated instrument. The very fast throughput instrument available. But I think specimen reception area, at the pre-analytical phase, takes a lot of time. And I think automation, it definitely, we'll hear from the experts as move on, the costing benefits probably as we move forward. Thank you so much. And I go back to Dr. Barnali. Now, sample has reached my lab. It's already barcoded. Monica is already forwarded to you now. It's leading into analytical phase. So it's, how do you define automation and analytical phase sample? Because analytical phase automation has been existing for a long time. We've been seeing not robots outside, but inside the machine. They've been working for a long time, probably. So how has this benefited the pathology labs, and where do you can you see the journey going through from now? Dr. Barnali, please.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Gaur, for this question, and thanks for this enriching session. We heard about this from Dr. Nilesh, Dr. Sibi, Dr. Monica, and Dr. Gaur about how automation is changing the lab scenario or diagnostic scenario worldwide. So automation, like if generally we talk about, it's automation of the manual processes and involves automated or robotic equipment. But it's not only limited to the big size lab. It may be in for smaller labs where with limited capital funds, process re-engineering of manual processes is part of this definition of automation. So if we talk about automation, process re-engineering using continuous quality improvement methods, like when we design lab, lean design of lab, and then it provides significant improvements with minimal cost, like direct cost, indirect cost, improves quality and reduce manual labor, repetitive handling, errors. So these are all the paving the way of automations. And like driving automations in big size lab, if we talk about, Dr. Nilesha has already mentioned the like how we can talk about driving automations with the help of AI, cloud computing, Internet of Things, middleware. So if we can divide that in three process flow, like one is the sample flow, where we talk about the total lab automation, then second is the data flow, and third is the material flow. Sample flow, like collection, for sample collection, sorting, transport, centrifugation, recapping, decapping, and then archiving, retrieving, disposal, and send out. So this is the total lab automation of sample flow. And then coming to the data flow, like order entry, accessioning, quality control, equipment monitoring, then remote services, because during the COVID we realized like how important is remote services. I may be sitting in at home, and I may be releasing some reports which needed at 5 a.m. in the morning to release. Then second is auto verifications, then result review and moving averages, then result reporting, billing, all this the data flow, which with the help of middleware or logical automation we can manage. And also clinical decision support system. This is the most important. I know about, we talk about AMS, middleware and everything, but I actually value being a diagnostician. I mostly value the clinical decision support system, because we are not now behind the curtain. So our role is like, suppose in autoimmune disease or neuroimmune disease, the neurologist asking, these are the symptoms, and do Bernali, what may be the diagnosis, what may be, what test we should order. So this is how we can algorithm based clinical decision support system or CDS help. And then coming to the material flow, which is very important, like inventory tracking, inventory reordering or online ordering, electronic marketplace, utilization of inventory, then cost per reporting, and shipment, everything electronically can be, inventory management system can manage. And so when we decide about automation, total lab automation or total testing process automation, this workflow mapping, very important, materials flow, process flow, data flow diagram done at different layers, like workload map, and also simulation studies, like we are doing some studies with IIT Digital Health Department. So those simulation studies help us to define like where is our bottleneck points. And so as we talk about brain to brain loop or Ludenbug loop, like from patient brain ordering, then it comes to clinician brain to labs brain, and then again reporting. So this whole testing process of entire value chain, so we can actually, with the help of total lab automation, we can redefine like timing studies, and all those simulation studies can help us in identifying the bottleneck points and identifying the possible solutions to meet the needs. And this improves the quality, turnaround time, then workflow, then bottleneck points. So ultimate benefits of this solution like informatic solutions, digitization, IoTs like AMS, inventory management system or IMS, and you have spoken about indexer, Dr. Monica and Dr. Simi, like pre-analytical samples management by automation, logistic management, tracking the sample, and then CDS. All these different solutions benefit ultimately the logical automation of the sample and inventory, then lab optimizations like auto verification, standardization of all those algorithms, then consolidated quality control results, reliability, cost effectiveness, reduced rerun and on hold inventory, and then consolidated reporting, enable the scaling and connect multiple LIS analyzers, next generation total lab automations, and ultimately it measure performance like
I think,
network analytics,
yeah,
operational scorecard, utilization. So these are the main benefits of different solutions, different automations in our lab life.
yeah, thanks so much. You've actually very well elaborated. Yeah, I was just talking about analyzer. It's not analyzer. It's a lot of other things inside the lab. Everything is probably that's very important. Whether it's a procurement, inventory, on board, whatever it is. I think there's a lot of things inside the lab, not the equipment beyond that. I think we have something like today we have developed tracks. The sample automatically reaches the desired equipment. When urgent samples are automatically picked up, critical alerts are delivered. But I only hope, and I probably feel that going forward, we can have a track for smaller labs, because today these are very, very like a big size lab. But I think these I think some smaller versions. I'm pretty hopeful. Sometime in the future, we have probably like if you remember the floor mill used to have. There's a belt kind of a thing. A lot of people have actually made it a innovative, a tracking belt kind of a thing. Sample probably delivered and in between, because of safety, keeping it in mind, sample delivered to the right desk and it works out. Thank you so much. We'll get back to you. I think we have to be a little faster because we have another 15-20 minutes left now. Dr. Amrit, probably welcome to this thing. I think you are now actually pathologist getting into the molecular pathology and biology. So I'd like to hear from you. It's an era of personalized diagnosis now. Now, we have heard pre-analytical, analytical, some part of the post-analytical too. But can you please let us know the role of automation in the personalized diagnosis? Because everybody talking about personalized diagnosis, precision medicine, companion diagnosis. I would hear from you because that's probably an era molecular is now heading for, and this is what is already happening and more going to happen. Dr. Amrit, please.
Yes, absolutely. So the personalized medicine is the one important topic which is in right now, because it's not about the one treatment for all type of cancers. It's about right diagnosis with the right treatment to the right patient. That's what the science is heading toward. That's what the medicine wants, and that's what the patient wants. So that's why. When we are talking about precision medicine, we have to give the right diagnosis. And for the right diagnosis, we have to have the right technology, first of all, when you're dealing with the cancer patients. So when we are right technology means that we need to be updated with the latest technologies which are available for the monitoring of the disease, for finding out the reoccurrences of the disease, to find the relapse if the patient is undergoing any relapse in the treatment. So for that, I would like to introduce some new technologies like ctDNA, which is being used nowadays, and it has been in the market to understand the the relapse which can be picked up 3 months before it comes on the CT. So the automation of these technologies is very, very important, since it helps us to give us the right treatment. Because if there is a mutation in any of the genes which happens because the resistance to one particular treatment, it can be picked up and the treatment can be changed. Similarly, nowadays the radiogenomics has come forward, in which the molecular data is being integrated with the radiographic data. So with the result, the response to the radiotherapy can be measured with the help of this particular technology. So we have a lot of artificial intelligence coming up based on deep learning, computational learning, and machine learning, which helps us to build up algorithms based on the treatment response, and then we can measure how much of it the treatment is required for the patient. And also, before starting the treatment, there is one very important topic known as pharmacogenomics, which is again being used, like TPMT is being used to understand the patient's genomic response to that particular treatment, because some of the enzymes might be mutated, and some of the enzymes may not respond properly, and it might results in toxicity. So automation in patient treatment, not only in the diagnosis of histopathology, myself being a histopathology, also in the form of genomics, of the patient's genomics, of the monitoring of the ctDNA, of seeing the CDCs, circulating tumor cells which has come up, and to find the algorithms which connect the dots and what treatment will finally work in a patient. That is also very, very significant. And when we come to the treatment part, now we have lots of immunotherapies which are available, especially the CAR T cell therapy. When we see that therapy, the patient cells are, are enriched with the CD19 or CD33, which goes and kill the cancer cells. So there is a particular machines which are available, and we need to have an automation of those machines so that we can quantify those cells, we can enrich the cells and put the cells back into the patient to fight against the cancer cells. So when we talk about personalized medicine, there's a lot of instrumentation which is required, and we need to automate those instruments. We need to find like how accurately we can measure the patient's response and how accurately we can help the patient go further. And nowadays all the patients are very, very well to do. They read the literature and they come back and they ask for that particular treatment. I see that in my routine practice every day. So they really want to understand their genomics, especially in NGS, so how better they can be treated. So I can see the personalized medicine field growing up very fast nowadays.
Yeah, I
So
think
I
I agree. I think, Amit, that's something very interesting you're talking about. It is like, the my B complex and your B complex cannot be same, because I may be having B1, B3, B5, you have B2, B4, B6. Probably that's
yes.
what you're heading for. I think that's what pathology is working now. I think that's something we have come forward. The pathology is providing a direction for the drug development, personalized drug therapy. And I think unless you have the right kind of a data, fully, which is actually bioinformatics along with the lab data, whatever we capture from the patient at the time of sample collection, history, put together. This is probably could be that's we already had it in oncology is already happening. Probably more want to see as we move forward. Thank you so much. We'll come back to you. We have just I think probably we have about 2.5 minutes to each of all of you. But I'd like to understand from Dr. Nilesha, and that's one important question I'd like to ask. Because, today we whenever my pathologists, whenever our pathologists, hospital-based pathologists, they go back to the CFOs, they ask them, I want to automate, I want to have this thing. First question is that they talk about ROI. Tell me, how do you what is the benefit? So I'd like to you understand, automation needs investment. And how can a pathologist convince the CFO about such big capital expenditure? And your experience, please, Dr. Shah.
Sure. So I've been both side proposing automation or equipment, and other side approving. So the rule which I've set, and our rules may not be uniform. It's not a guideline. It is something which I felt right. I've set that there are two type of investment. One investment where ROI is not possible to come. For example, if you talk about sample sorter, ROI will never come. But if you say because ROI doesn't come, are you not going to invest? I said no. There will be something which you have to invest, whether ROI comes or not. But larger number of things ROI comes. And how to estimate ROI is something which one has to practice, and you need to uh, use it for the organization, because ultimately if commercials are not met, investment is not done. So, according to me, ROI period should be 3 years. In 3 years, the investment should return. That is a good ROI. 3 to 4 years is worth discussion. More than 4 years, somebody can park it for the time being. To calculate ROI, you should take all the factors in mind. The amount of space you are saving, because of which whatever overheads are going down, the productivity you are doing, so all the talented manpower, how much manpower you will save, so man effort, man days, you have to estimate, and that you have to take it as a part of saving. Third thing you should take is material cost saving. Material cost saving, as most of the time when you adopt automation, you would probably reduce your rechecks and reflexes, because your quality itself is reliable and it is rule based. It is not somebody's brain using it, because you may have technicians who are so they play so safe that every abnormal they want to double check. मेरे को problem नहीं आना चाहिए, मेरे को कोई question नहीं करना चाहिए. They will just keep on doing recheck, and I've seen also people who by default put every sample two times. So when you put automation, you will be able to control them. You will also control some amount of misuse because people bring sample out from outside and load it. All this control will help your material cost reduction, misuse. You should put it part of your saving. The last thing which you call quality enhancement which you are doing. So because you are doing quality enhancement with automation, your number of rejections, number of rechecks which doctor feels before authorizing or complaints will come down. You should consider as a part of ROI. At the same time, sometime there will be revenue enhancement because you have added automation. This also can be effort estimation, and revenue enhancement estimation can also be part of your ROI sheet to calculate whether you are getting investment back in 3 years time, and that investment is worth for approval by at our level or CFO level, whoever is doing in your organization. But doing a ROI calculation is important. That builds discipline in people who are actually proposing a new test or proposing a new automation. It's very important we should do it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point, because if you are proposing an investment, you should take the responsibility. I think that's something is,
Absolutely.
yeah, so I
Absolutely.
think that goes without saying. And that's something which is that I think we all have to take that ownership on ourselves. Yeah, I will make sure that ROI is delivered. And it will be. I'm very sure it definitely works in the long run if you've done a homework properly. Okay, thank you so much. I think I'll move on to Dr. Semi. Dr. Semi, I think a quick question for you. I think it's an era of digitization, and digital pathology is something which is now on, and automation probably because we have seen the digitalization happening in radiology long back. Pathology is probably it's just entering. Probably you can say that. Although I know Rothschild, Metropolis Lab, and some bigger labs having this thing for a few years actually now almost they have and a couple of bigger other labs also. But can you see the reasons why we still have a little reluctance for this, and how do the future and acceptability on digital pathology? Dr. Semi, please.
Yeah, you're absolutely right that the concept of digital pathology is actually 2 decades old. However, its adoption as an informatic tool is still work in progress. So the first time that digital pathology came into play was in 1994, when the first equipment or a scanner known as Bliss got established by a person known as James Backus. So 1994, and today we're talking about it in 2022. Now, why is this? I remember my first days that the first time we had to do digital pathology, it was clicking an image and then uploading it. So, histopathology slide, if you look at the present, could have more than 1,000 tiles, but would click the area of importance that one wanted to show somebody else and send it. And that was totally subjective, because what is important to me probably would be nothing to somebody else, and I would be missing the real histopathology, the pathology area, which would be of diagnostic importance. Why has it taken such a long time? Because initially, when the technology came in, there were a lot of things that the lab had to adopt. For instance, the thickness of the slide, the cover slipping, the thickness of the section, how big the section was. There should be no bubbles, there should be no folds. All these would hamper in the digitalization of the slide. It would not get uploaded. The speed, the internet speed, it was like Dr. Nilesh Shah said in his first thing that, pathology is advanced, but IT has a lot to do. And that was the bottleneck. There was no broadband, there wasn't that much space. Then, storage of these images. I mean, though the storage space that is required in pathology is much, much lesser than in radiology, but still you needed it, and we were not prepared as a pathology lab to have such an infrastructure. Now, these were the things that were the bottleneck when you were looking at actual a pathology person, analyzing or trying to get this on board. However, there were other issues like return on investment, because the capex that is required to get these digital scanners is not a very small amount. It is in crores. The scanning can happen at a place where the slides are there, but the image has to be transmitted to somebody else who's going to be reporting. And over there also you need high resolution screen, the monitors. So resources, the acceptability of a pathologist not to look under the microscope but to look at the screen, that convenience, that took a lot of time. Definitely infrastructure, the IT infrastructure, all these became bottlenecks and the acceptability became less. But I think as time progressed, people realized, and most of the pathologists females would love to be at home and work from home, and digital pathology enables that. I could be sitting anywhere, have the slide, the image given to me and report it online, and still have a work and a family balance. So that became a very important thing, which a lot of us realized during our COVID times also, though at the end of it a lot of people were pulling their hair apart and saying, no, I want to go back to the lab. But the ease of sharing images, the retrieval of images, the workload balancing, because today there could be labs which have a high volume of histopathology but you don't have that many histopathologists, and there could be a lab where you have an expert sitting but the workload is not there. So subject matter experts, organ specialists could be anywhere in the country and you could send the images and get opinions.
And that's
And
a big advantage. I think I have to probably stop you here because we have a little short of time. But I
yeah,
think very nicely said. The infrastructure, the requirement of subspecialty, expert opinion, and the convenience, and probably the IT, the ways are developed very fast now. I think
yeah,
they've done a
just
lot
one
of work.
last point which I will
Yes,
take
please.
just 5 seconds is
Yes, please.
artificial intelligence, because of deep learning, because of digital pathology, which has developed algorithms which can help in differential diagnosis and then even predictive markers. So all that has an advantage uh, with digital pathology, which people are realizing. So
I
I
think yeah,
think the
that's
future
what we
is
call as augmented intelligence to us. Probably
exactly,
supporting us and probably working on it. I think
absolutely.
one thing I like to probably put across here, because I think it's a question of probably I've seen as you grow, histopathology is the mind experience and experience. More experience the person is, probably the better his reporting is in histopathology. So it's been I think it's time for us to go back and tell our medical colleges and the professors, like, let the undergraduates, obviously the postgraduates, especially if nothing, they should be exposed, and teaching should start on the digital pathology kind of a path scopes, where probably then when they come into the practice straight away they are trained on it. Otherwise it takes a lot of, because you've trained your eyes for a microscope for 20-25 years, and now you want to change them to a screen. It's going to take with some resistance, some change, and of course people have adopted it and are adopting it probably. But if you go back to the postgraduate, probably a training phase, that will probably help us out in future. And with that, I think I'll go back to Dr. Barnali. I think quick 2 minutes to you, Dr. Barnali. That's it, because you mentioned something about. I want to hear from you, because you have been going around all. I think you're an example for probably helping people out with a small size lab. What is I think the small size lab, very medium, I don't know, not even medium, small size lab, which is now tier 4 cities, because there are 1.5 labs today. I think most of them are very small size labs. What kind of automation, what kind of a things they can adopt, and where do you see them growing from here 5 years from now?
True. Like when we work maybe in big lab and we don't realize the difficulties in small size labs. So during the COVID time, with the help of, like, I was part of COVID task force, then I realized in resource poor setting how to help them for a small size lab. So it's not automation is not total lab automation, or lab automation is not only related to the big size lab. Like small lab with limited capital funds, they can do process re-engineering, and like with continuous improvement. Here it comes like total cost of ownership. Whoever is there, maybe the technologist or diagnostic manager or whoever is there. So if this we can take care of this direct and indirect cost of implementations to implement that in a small or medium sized lab. So here when we realize like something in Tripura or maybe Leh Ladakh, we realized during this COVID time that digitization plays a very significant role, like availability of this diagnostic setup in remotest location, and then resilient healthcare and diagnostic ecosystem, then role of accreditation agency and ICMR also for gearing up the facilitating the RT-PCR. So this actually all those supply chain management and everything with this digitization, AI, like Dr. Simi mentioned, how deep learning, machine learning can help. And we realize we're developing some of the risk stratification tool for COVID biomarkers, like with because everywhere they can't do interleukin 6 or all the ferritin and D-dimer and all the biomarkers. So what can we, how we can help in the smallest city or remotest location, maybe with the help of CBC and CRP. So with this, when we take the simulation studies with this machine learning or deep learning, so the risk stratification tools helps the clinicians or helps the patient to be risk stratify mild, moderate, severe disease. So this kind of utilization of the tools, digitization, Internet of Things, AI really can help us in
Yeah, Dr. Nari, I think I'll interrupt you for here for a minute. One small, quick answer I want to have on 30 seconds. Because today there are about 1.5 lakh, 2 lakh, we don't know how many labs, the number of labs, but we have limited pathologists. Do you think that this is a telepathology, pathologist kind of a thing? This is going to be a real practice, because otherwise, you know, what kind of a thing. So which is like, where do you feel it is like possible to have a remote authentication, and what's your view on it?
Absolutely possible, because we can see the dashboard of the remotest location. Like if I talk about biochemistry, immunoassay, it's very, very, very much possible. And as Dr. Simi mentioned about digital path, so this we can see the dashboard, like I'm seeing the dashboard in my own lab. So in the remotest location, all the location, if we can take that AI, with the help of AI, this is absolutely possible, because we know with the so limited pathologist and so limited even technologist, we don't have the technologist also. So because of that, it's very much possible to do
Yeah, I
it.
understand. Thank you so much, because I think that's where the need is probably. But I think probably here it is like, it is definitely possible. That's a need. But I think we integrate all the processes right from the starting till the end, and that's actually through a software or something which is as a dashboard applicable to you. So you get confidence.
All
It
the
is what all
stakeholders,
components you'll be able to probably report, and that probably addresses a lot of our challenges of quality reporting and shortage of skilled manpower. Thank you so much, Dr. Monica. Quick question. I want to have 3 points from you. What a good quality lab management software should look like in view of what we're talking about?
I believe we lost the connection. Dr. Ravi Gaur and Dr. Monica lost the connection. So, any views from any one of you would like to conclude the session?
I think I will just add a little bit on the automation part in the genetics lab, molecular genetics lab. That I think I'll just update on that, because molecular genetics lab always look for the techniques which will save them time, and because you can understand the DNA or the RNA extraction itself take 12 hours. So recently we have some introduction of some robotic machines which can help us with the DNA extraction. And also we have the PCR machines, which which are semi-automated, and it does its work on hybridization and everything. But recently, we have one of the gene expert machines which have come up, and the BCR APL automation the time has been reduced to 2 hours. So we have a lot of automated machines which are coming forward. And secondly, I would like to introduce the bioinformatics part. The bioinformatics part is like, it has an inbuilt system, it has an inbuilt pipeline in which you just feed the variables, and you are able to get the different variants which are positive in that particular disease. And when you pick up those variants, you are able to, compare it with the human genome, and this is already inculcated in the whole pipeline. There's a GATK file which is available, and so all these pipelines are already automated in the reporting of the next generation sequencing. So what I want to specify is that the genomic profiling of any patient has become much more easier and much more robust, and we have different people coming in, different specialities coming in, helping in the proper patient management. So automation of all these techniques and integration of the different systems in a genomics lab actually helps us to plan for the better treatment for the patient. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think I'm sorry I missed it out, but I think good. I'm sure you have continued the topic for here. I think one last question, and that's I'll address before we. I think you can hear me, right? So
Now
Nilesh,
we
can you
can
hear
hear
me?
you.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yes,
I
we can
think
hear you.
I think do you think like what I started in asking you? It is it can we
We lost him again.
I think he
Yeah.
was asking about the robots everywhere in the lab. He was mentioning that.
Yes, we would love to have a few of them here in the running around and handling us the things so that the processes are
being
speeded down. Yes.
Well, I just want to add one thing, while we do automation, we have to get the team along so that they should not feel automation is not to decrease manpower. So if that fear is there, uh, you lose out a lot.
So,
Yes.
with your permission, I'll just comment on this because Dr. Gaur is not able to connect. I think I would never look forward to a lab which is human free. I don't want to look for it.
I agree with you totally.
Lab medicine.
I
In fact, I'm sorry, Dr. Gaur, I initiated the answer directly because we learned the question you want to ask about robots. So I initiated the answers. I hope you're okay with it.
No, no, I'm
So,
perfectly fine. I actually wanted to have that answer. We don't want really speaking to the free. I think I'm probably, unless in our colleges, if you remember, our pathology labs used to the best kind of a thing. And still in the remember, the patient want to come and talk to the pathologist.
doctor, absolutely right.
It's
Now,
the
then we
man
lost him.
behind the machine that is very important.
And
Absolutely, absolutely.
moreover, the confidence today, even I don't agree with teleconsultation to great extent. A doctor coming and just putting a hand on patient's shoulder, saying, "Don't worry, everything will be fine." That is much more valuable compared to digitally talking, and that cannot be replaced by digital thing at all. So it has to be combination. It cannot be one-sided fully. We should
Yeah.
never make a lab which is human free. In fact, rather we should promote we have huge automation, but people, talented people, experienced people are behind it, and that should be reciprocating on our report also and on communication also. I think that gives confidence because
Yes.
clinician has taken a big responsibility of managing patient, treating the patient. He should also feel confident. Patient should feel confident. So I would never replace fully. I would keep some non-automated area for doctors to add value, and that is not replaceable anytime. I'm not seeing in my life. I will see it.
No, no, perfectly fine, Dr. Lay. I think while automation might not be able to learn for it mistakes, humans can learn. And these mistakes can always be corrected and applied. I think thank you so much for being here. I think it was a pleasure hearing from all of you. I think, and sorry for the technological interruption. And I'm probably looking forward to see you all in person. Thanks you once again. And back to you, please.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
Thank
you.
everyone.
you.
Thank you
Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi Gaur, for your lovely moderation, and I thank all the panelists for their insightful views on the session. Thank you so much. And we would like to inform our esteemed gathering about our upcoming events, which are the 4th Pharma Leadership Summit on 26th and 27th April, the 3rd Radiology and Imaging Summit on the 26th and 27th of May, and Medical Education Summit on the 23rd and 24th of June. We look forward for your constant support in future. I once again extend my warm gratitude to all our esteemed panelists for joining in and giving their time. Please accept a small token of gratitude from our end through these certificates that we present to Dr. Ravi Gaur for his wonderful moderation. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gaur.
Dr. Bernali Das, for your thoughts on the panel discussion. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Dr. Nilesh Shah for his views on the topic. Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Amrit Kaur Kaler, thank you, ma'am, for sharing your points.
Thank you.
Dr. Monica Prabhakar for her insightful points on the discussion. Thank you so much, ma'am. And Dr. Simi Bhatia for her points. Thank you so much. It was wonderful having all of you. Thank you.